Nena thought she had found love when she married Uche, a rich and powerful businessman in the busy city of Aba. At first, everything looked perfect. The wedding was grand, the house was beautiful, and her future seemed bright. But just a few months after the wedding, things started to change. Uche began to control everything she did. He told her what to wear, who to talk to, and even when she could leave the house. At first, she tried to explain or stay calm, hoping he would change. But it only got worse. One day, Nena got a phone call from her aunt in Succa. Her mother was very sick and might not live much longer. With tears in her eyes, she begged Uche to let her go and see her mother one last time. But Uche didn't care. He looked at her coldly and said, "No. You're not going anywhere." Nena's heart broke. Her mother had always been her best friend, the one who raised her with love and strength. Now, she was lying on a hospital bed, and Nena couldn't even hold her hand. Uche acted like it didn't matter. He didn't even ask about her mother again. Nena sat by the window that night, looking up at the sky, feeling like a prisoner in her own home. The man she once loved had become her cage. And she didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The house was full of people that evening. Uche had invited some business friends over for dinner, and Nena had worked all day to make everything perfect. She cooked, cleaned, set the table with her best dishes, and even wore the dress Uche liked. She didn't want any problems tonight. She just wanted peace. But even after all her effort, he didn't smile at her once. Instead, he kept showing off in front of his guests, laughing loudly, talking about money and power, pretending to be a perfect husband. Nena sat quietly, serving food, smiling softly, trying to hide the storm inside her. Then it happened. One of the guests asked politely, "How is your wife's mother doing now?" Nena froze. Her eyes watered immediately. She hadn't seen her mother in months. She didn't even know how she was. Before she could speak, Uche laughed and said, "Her mother? That woman's just a waste of breath. Nothing to talk about there." Everyone laughed awkwardly, unsure of how to react. But Nena heard every word like a knife in her chest. Her hands trembled as she picked up the empty plates, holding back tears. She stayed in the kitchen long after everyone left. She didn't speak. She didn't move much. Just sat on the floor, staring at the wall, crying silently. She didn't understand how love had turned into this. How the man who once called her queen could now humiliate her in front of strangers. She wanted to call someone, anyone, but her phone had been taken weeks ago. She was cut off. Alone. Later that night, when she finally got the strength to go to her room, she found the door locked. Confused, she tried again. Locked. She went to the front door. Also locked. All the locks had been changed. She knocked softly, thinking maybe it was a mistake. Then she knocked harder. No answer. Panic rose in her chest. She looked for the cleaner, the driver, no one was around. The house was empty, and she was locked out of her own bedroom, in her own home. Nena went back to the kitchen and sat down on the cold floor. Her tears came back, but this time, they didn't fall quietly. They poured out with sound, heavy sobs that filled the silent kitchen. She cried for her mother. She cried for herself. She cried for the girl who once dreamed of a happy marriage, a peaceful life. She couldn't call for help. She couldn't leave. And worst of all, her heart knew, her mother might be taking her last breath while she was locked away in this cold, quiet house. Outside, the city of Aba moved on. Cars drove past, people laughed, music played in the distance. But inside that mansion, Nena sat in the dark, shaking, crying, and breaking. Uche had all the money, all the power, but she still had one thing he could never take, her silent strength. She didn't scream that night, but something inside her woke up. The pain was too deep. The silence had lasted too long. And in that silence, something was growing. Something powerful. Something that would change everything. The next morning, Nena's eyes were swollen from crying. She hadn't slept all night. Her body was tired, but her mind couldn't stop spinning. She moved like a shadow through the house, silent and slow. The kitchen was still a mess from the night before, but she didn't care. Nothing mattered anymore. She felt empty, broken, like a part of her had gone missing. She sat by the window, staring at nothing. Then she heard footsteps. It was the cleaner, moving quickly through the hallway. Nena stood up slowly, wiped her face, and walked to her. "Please," she whispered, "can I borrow your phone? Just for a minute. I need to check on my mother." The cleaner looked nervous, her eyes darting around. She knew it was risky. Uche had warned everyone not to let Nena use a phone. But something in Nena's voice, so soft, so broken, made the cleaner nod. She handed her the phone quickly, like passing a secret. With shaking hands, Nena dialed her aunt's number. It rang once. Twice. Then a voice came through, full of sadness. "Hello. Auntie, it's Nena. Please, how is Mama?" There was a long pause. Then the words fell like heavy stones. "Nena," she passed. "Last night. Around midnight." Nena froze. The world around her went quiet. Her breath caught in her throat. She dropped to her knees, still holding the phone. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Tears poured down her face like a storm. She pressed the phone to her chest and rocked back and forth on the floor. Her mother was gone. Gone. And Nena wasn't there. She didn't get to say goodbye. She didn't get to hold her hand, kiss her forehead, whisper, "I love you." She was locked in this house. Trapped. While her mother took her last breath. The cleaner stood nearby, eyes full of fear and pity. But Nena didn't see her. Her heart was screaming too loud. Then, something changed. The pain didn't fade, but it shifted. Her hands stopped shaking. Her eyes dried, slowly. She stood up, still silent. The phone still in her hand. But now her face looked different. Not broken. Not weak. Something had turned cold. The love she had for her mother was still there, deep in her chest. But now, wrapped around it like fire, was something else. Rage. Uche did this. He stopped her from seeing her mother. He locked her inside. He laughed at her pain. And now, she was done crying. She looked out the window, not at the sky, but at the city. At Aba. At the world waiting outside these prison walls. She had nothing left to lose. But Uche, he had everything to lose. Her fingers wrapped tightly around the phone. Her voice, quiet but full of steel, whispered to herself. "He took my last chance with Mama. Now I'll take back everything." And from that moment on, Nena was no longer the soft, silent woman who waited for love to save her. No. She was becoming something new. Something powerful. Something unstoppable. Nena sat alone in the garden days after her mother's death, her heart still heavy, but her mind now sharp. She had cried all her tears. Now, she was thinking, remembering, planning. She kept replaying her last real phone call with her mother, months before everything went dark. Her mother's voice had been soft but full of meaning. "Nena," she had said, "there are papers in my chest box. Very important. They belong to you. One day, you will understand why." At the time, Nena didn't fully understand. She thought it was just land, maybe something small in the village. But after her mother's burial, her aunt handed her the documents that had been locked away for years. Nena opened them slowly, reading every line. Her hands started to tremble, not from fear this time, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Power. Her mother had secretly transferred all the family land into Nena's name. It wasn't just one plot. It was acres of land. And not just in the village. Some were close to a newly announced government development project. Roads, schools, even a business hub were being built nearby. The land had become gold. Worth millions. Quietly. Silently. While Uche was busy mocking her, her mother had planted a future she never saw coming. Nena sat back, looking at the papers spread across the table. She smiled for the first time in weeks. A slow, calm smile. She wasn't powerless. She wasn't stuck. She had something Uche didn't know about. And she would use it wisely. For years, Uche believed he owned her. He thought she had nothing without him. But he didn't know that her mother had seen everything coming. Her mother had loved her so deeply, she gave her more than money, she gave her freedom, protection, and a way out. Nena didn't rush. She didn't speak much. She kept everything to herself. She visited the government office quietly and confirmed the land titles. She spoke to a lawyer, a young woman who had also grown up under men who thought women should stay quiet. They connected instantly. The lawyer explained how much the land was now worth, and what Nena could do with it. Every day, Nena felt stronger. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She cooked when she had to. She nodded when Uche gave orders. But inside, she was building a storm. A silent one. A smart one. She started selling parts of the land. She put money aside. She opened a secret bank account. She learned fast, contracts, business deals, land values. While Uche was busy showing off to his friends and throwing parties, Nena was becoming something he never expected, powerful. She wasn't just going to escape. She was going to turn the story around. She wasn't the victim anymore. She was the woman her mother raised, wise, patient, and stronger than anyone knew. In that quiet moment in the garden, she whispered, "Thank you, Mama." And then, without anyone noticing, she started making the moves that would shake Uche's entire world. Uche thought he owned everything, the house, the cars, the people. He walked around like a king, shouting orders, holding his glass of wine, talking about power. But deep down, Uche was careless. He never paid attention to the fine print. He never thought someone like Nena could outsmart him. And that was his biggest mistake. Nena kept her plans quiet. No anger, no fighting, no shouting. She just watched, listened, and learned. With the money from the land her mother gave her, she went straight to her lawyer, a sharp young woman with a firm voice and fire in her eyes. They sat together in a small office and Nena placed the folded paper on the desk. "I want to buy Uche's house," she said calmly. The lawyer blinked. "Your husband's house?" Nena nodded. "Yes. But not through him. I want to know who really owns it." They started digging. Uche had always bragged about the mansion like it was his greatest trophy. But when the lawyer checked the documents, the truth came out. Uche didn't own the house. Not legally. It belonged to his uncle, an old man who had run into debt and was ready to sell. Uche had been living there all this time, claiming it as his, but the house was never in his name. The lawyer looked at Nena. "We can buy it. Quietly. He won't even know until it's done." And just like that, the game changed. Nena signed the papers. She paid in full. She bought the mansion with her own money. No loans. No noise. Just quiet power. She even made sure the transfer stayed hidden until the right moment. Uche had no idea the ground beneath him was already shifting. She would walk past him in the hallway, still acting like the obedient wife. But inside, she was smiling. He talked and talked, not knowing the house he stood in no longer belonged to him. It was now hers. Bought clean and legal. He missed the signs, the papers, the calls, because Uche never paid attention to details. He only saw what he wanted to see, control. One day, Nena walked past his study and saw him shouting on the phone. Bills were piling up. Business was slow. His face looked worried, but his pride kept him acting like a boss. He didn't know his biggest loss hadn't even hit yet. That moment was coming. And it would break him in a way he never expected. Nena wasn't in a rush. She waited. She planned every step carefully. This wasn't revenge made in anger, it was justice crafted in silence. And it was almost time. Uche still believed she was nothing without him. But soon, he would learn the truth, that the woman he tried to silence, the one he locked away, had just bought the roof over his head. With her own hands. With the same quiet strength her mother had passed down. All it took was one paper. One paper he never bothered to read. And now, the house he once ruled didn't belong to him anymore. It belonged to her. Completely. The sky was cloudy that morning in ABA, like it knew something big was about to happen. The air felt still, like it was holding its breath. Inside a quiet car parked outside the mansion, Nena sat in silence. She wore a long black lace dress, soft but elegant, and her heels touched the ground with quiet confidence. Her head was held high. Her makeup was simple, but her eyes were full of strength. Today was the day of her mother's memorial. But it was also the day she would finally close the chapter of pain. In her hand, she held a white envelope. Light in weight, but heavy with truth. She stepped out of the car and walked into the house like she owned it, because now, she did. The guards didn't stop her. The house help paused, their eyes wide. Nena didn't look left or right. Her heels echoed on the marble floor as she walked straight to the living room. Uche was there, sitting on the couch in his robe, holding a steaming cup of tea. He was watching TV, relaxed, unaware. Just another day in his world of control and pride. He looked up and scoffed. "You look like someone attending a burial," he said with a smirk. Nena replied softly, "I am." He sipped his tea, uninterested. "Don't stay out too long." She stepped closer and gently placed the envelope on the table, right beside his cup. "You'll want to read this," she said, still calm. With a sigh, he tore it open, expecting something small. Maybe a church program. Maybe a letter begging for forgiveness. But his eyes widened as he read the words. His lips moved slowly, trying to understand what he was seeing. "Eviction notice," he muttered. "What kind of joke is this?" "It's not a joke, Uche," she replied. "This house now belongs to me. I bought it from your uncle. Everything was done legally. You have 7 days to leave." He jumped to his feet, face red with anger. "You can't do this. You don't have the right." Nena looked him in the eye. "I have the deed. I have the documents. You never truly owned this house. You were just loud in a place you didn't control." His hands trembled. "You're still my wife. You think you can embarrass me like this?" She took a deep breath. "You embarrassed me every day. You locked me away. You kept me from my dying mother. But today, I am free. And this," she pointed around the room, "this is mine now." Uche looked around like the walls were betraying him. Like the air had turned against him. For once, he had no words. Just shock. Nena turned and walked to the door. But before leaving, she stopped, looked back once, and said quietly, "You served me bitterness with tea. Today, I served you truth, with peace." And just like that, she walked out of the mansion, heels clicking behind her, not with sadness, but with the quiet victory of a woman who had taken back her power, one silent step at a time. The news spread like wildfire. By midday, social media was on fire with the headline, "Powerful ABA businessman evicted by his own wife." Blogs, gossip pages, and even radio shows couldn't stop talking about it. Pictures of Uche standing outside the mansion in shock, still in his robe, went viral. People laughed, shared, and commented. Some said it was karma. Others called Nena a legend. But everyone agreed on one thing: the woman they thought was quiet had made the loudest statement of all. Camera crews rushed to the street. Neighbors peeked through their windows. The once proud Uche was now pacing outside the gate of a house he no longer owned. His voice, once so full of pride and arrogance, was now quiet. No one came to help him. Even his closest friends stayed away. They were scared. Or ashamed. Then came the moment no one would forget. Nena stepped out, dressed in soft blue this time, hair tied back, looking calm and glowing. She walked to the gate slowly, holding the keys in her hand. Uche turned to her, his eyes begging, but he couldn't speak. She looked at him for a long second. Then, without anger or shouting, she slowly closed the gate and locked it with a soft click. As the cameras zoomed in, she leaned forward and whispered so only he could hear, "You banned me from my mother. Now the world will remember who banned you from everything." And just like that, she walked back inside, strong, silent, unforgettable.